Looking to stock up on high-quality Ayurvedic herbs? I've partnered with two of my trusted sources, Kerala Ayurveda and Gary and Son, to offer you 20% off their entire range of authentic products. From classical formulas to single herbs and seasonal must-haves, these are staples I use in my own practice. Use code Ojas Oasis for Kerala Ayurveda, Ojas Oasis 20 for Gary and Son. Links are in the show notes. Supporting your healing journey just got a little bit easier. In Ayurveda, nourishment isn't only about what we take in for the body, but also what we offer the heart. That's why we're honored to share Aura Cacao, a ceremonial grade cacao we've chosen as a dharmic partner for the Ojas Oasis community. Aura Cacao supports meditation, heart-opening rituals, and moments of conscious presence. As an exclusive gift for our listeners, use Ojas Oasis 20 for 20% off, and you'll find the link in the show notes. Welcome to Ojas Oasis, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets the modern being. I'm your host, Sasha Brashadsky, Ayurvedic doctor and guide on this journey into the heart of holistic wellness. Today's conversation is a powerful reminder that what we often call cutting-edge technology is, in many ways, a return to deeply rooted truth. I'm honored to welcome Scott Hickle, CEO and co-founder of Throne Science, a revolutionary health tech company reimagining how we understand digestive health. Alongside John Capodilupo, one of the original founders of Whoop, Scott brings together deep experience in biometric data, human performance, and preventative health. At first glance, Throne's innovation, a smart toilet that analyzes stool and urine to generate personalized health insights, may sound futuristic. But when we look through the lens of Ayurveda, this technology feels incredibly familiar. In Ayurvedic medicine, stool analysis has always been one of the most important diagnostic tools. Long before lab tests and imaging, practitioners observed the color, consistency, frequency, smell, and ease of elimination to understand digestion, metabolism, nervous system balance, and even emotional health. Ayurveda teaches that when digestion is strong and elimination is clear, vitality, ojas, naturally follows. What Throne is doing is translating this ancient, embodied practice into a modern, accessible, and data-driven format, one that empowers individuals to self-observe, self-educate, and reconnect with their bodies in real time. This is especially important in the context of preventative care. Colorectal cancer is now one of the leading causes of cancer-related deaths, and rates are rising even among younger populations. Digestive dysfunction often whispers long before it screams, but in modern life, we're rarely taught how to listen. Throne offers a way to notice a subtle change early, without fear, shame, or disruption to daily life. From an Ayurvedic perspective, this is deeply aligned with the principle of svastha, being rooted in the self. Health is not something handed to us by a practitioner or a system. It is something we cultivate through awareness. Throne Science puts the keys back in our hands, transforming one of the most overlooked daily rituals into an act of self-inquiry and empowerment. We are living in a really exciting moment where modern health tech is opening the gateway back to a wisdom system that is over 10,000 years old. Today's conversation is about championing that bridge, how ancient knowledge and advanced technology can work together to help us understand our bodies more deeply, prevent disease more intelligently, and reclaim a sense of agency in our health journeys. Let's get to our chat. Namaste. Welcome back to the Ojas Oasis podcast. We are so excited, thrilled for today's guest, Scott Hickle, the CEO and co-founder of Throne Science, an incredible new emerging biotech gadget for your toilet that he's going to tell us all about, how it analyzes our stool and helps us prevent disease and just helps us get more connected with our bodies overall and our health. Scott, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you.
Tasha, thank you so much for the wonderful intro.
Yay. And I should also mention that Scott is a friend of mine. We met in Austin a couple of months ago. And again, it's just one of those things where there's a resonance, there's an alignment. And when I found out that he was really in that space of gut health, I'm like, oh, Ayurveda, gut health, we know a thing or two about that. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. So this all just organically came to be. And I think that this is like a great modern manifestation of an ancient science, actually, because this is, if Ayurveda had this technology thousands of years ago, we would have been using it instead of having people keep poop journals. We would have just had them do this. But Scott, I'd love to start with the question of the moment that you knew that this was the space that you really wanted to dive deep into. And I'd love to just hear the overall story that inspired you to create Throne, especially a product that focuses on something that a lot of people avoid talking about, which is their poop.
So I get flavors of this question a lot. No 5-year old, no, definitely no 12-year-old is currently thinking to themselves, like, I want to be a poop scientist. So the moment this became like real, there were two. Step one was just getting introduced to the idea of a smart toilet, and that was at a poker game in 2021. My now co-founder Tim, it was literally the first time we'd ever hung out, and we were sitting in our little COVID bubble poker game, talking about startup ideas that you would love to start but wouldn't want your name associated with, and a bunch of like sophomoric dudes talking sex, drugs, rock and roll, vice industries. And him was the only one that was like, no, 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 like the actual business here is smart toilets. And I was like, that's genius. Like, clearly you would name that company Throne and put a leaderboard on it. So that's how Throne first came, into my conscious awareness. And fast forward 2 years, like literally, Tim and I became fast friends. We ended up working together. And Throne was one of those just like recurring jokes, like an inside joke in our friendship. Like we have texts going back about it. But fast forward 2 years later, I finally called my mom, who's a geriatrician, and Tim and I were looking at starting something together. We knew we wanted to start a company, but weren't sure quite what it was yet. We both come from healthcare families, and we liked the idea of doing something that's like obviously good for the world. And so we were looking at various healthcare ideas. His mom and three of his sisters are all nurses. Both my parents are physicians. So we were just exploring a bunch of different ideas. And finally, we called my mom, and I was like, "Mom, is there any medical utility to it?" And as a geriatrician, her patients are all 65 up. She's like, "Honey, like my patients are obsessed with their poop." In the field of geriatrics, there's a joke that like all old people talk about is their kids, their meds, and their poop. And it's gotten to the point where I no longer give my phone number to my patients because they send me so many pictures of poop. And that was the first time that like Tim and I like looked at each other. We're like, wait a second, like Throne might actually have legs.
Wow.
And that inspired us to start just doing homework and asking ourselves, like, what are the different types of things you can measure from looking into the toilet bowl? Like, intuitively, people obviously appreciate that there's health information here. That's why they're sending it to their doctors. I didn't know at all about Ayurveda back then, but that was one of the things that came up in our homework. Is there's this storied tradition of stool observation, not just in Ayurveda, but in like world cultures all around the globe. And today there are dozens of health conditions that could be better understood and better monitored by taking a close look at what's happening in the toilet bowl every day. So at any rate, that was the moment. It was an evolution over the course of 2 years, and ultimately landed us here building Poop Camera.
It's incredible. So you yourself, it didn't come from a place of like you had a misdiagnosis or you had any digestive imbalances in the past. It wasn't like a personal drive to solve a personal problem. It was more so recognizing that this was something that a lot of people actually would really be able to use and would really value. Feeling drained, stressed, or stuck in old patterns? Panchakarma is Ayurveda's ultimate reset, clearing toxins, balancing your doshas, and restoring your vitality from the inside out. At Soham Healing Resort, every detail is designed for your transformation. Personalized therapies, nourishing meals, and deep rest in a serene sanctuary. As an Ojas Oasis listener, you'll receive $500 off your Panchakarma retreat with code OJASOASIS PK2025. These retreats book quickly and often far in advance, so don't wait to reserve your place today. Visit sohamhealing.com/panchakarma, and you'll also find the link and code waiting for you in the show notes.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had gut health issues in the past. I think that's one of the things about this is even if you don't have chronic gut health issues, everyone has experienced episodes of bad gut health. That is a universal truth of being human. I had my first colonoscopy when I was 15 years old. And so I'm not someone who lives with IBD or with IBS, but I think everyone can at some level empathize with what it's like to have bad gut health and how miserable those moments in life are. Now, whether or not that's a moment or just a chapter of your life.
Definitely. Definitely. So many, I mean, yeah, even just traveling, if you're someone who travels a lot, being exposed to things outside of your normal environment will wreak havoc on your gut health just because you're being exposed to bacteria that you're not used to. So it's a very empowering thing to be reclaiming that sovereignty with your body and saying, you know what, I want to find out about my body. I'm actually going to take matters into my own hands and start actually like tracking my own elimination and seeing what kind of insights I can get. Yeah, elimination is like a nice way. It's a nice right?
That's very
Yeah, like
diplomatic
there's
of you.
because we have to reserve the word poop. I think we have to like meet people where they're at right now culturally, and I still think that there are so many people that are shy of this topic, and hopefully this conversation will be one of those that remedies that, because this is obviously a very normal activity that all of us do. We're all human. We all have a body. This is the mechanics of it. This is the reality of it. Let's embrace it and get it out of the shadows of obscurity and shame or whatever else we've been taught to believe about it. But it's a very normal thing to want to know that you are healthy, that your gut is healthy. And this is the absolute most quintessential way of finding out if you're healthy, is to see, well, what got digested, how well did it get digested, and what else is going on in there. So it's a very wonderful way of connecting on a daily basis with the invisible parts of ourselves. What are the key metrics that Throne tracks in the gut health? I did some research on the site, but I would love to just get folks that are listening, because this is going to come out to market soon, and I want them to understand what kind of metrics this includes and how would a person translate this on their own into meaningful data for themselves? Or is this something that they go and provide with their doctor, and then they sort of are the ones who are translating all the data to them?
Okay, so these are fantastic questions. Also, to your point about the cultural relevance and the shyness around poop talk in our culture, there's so much to react to there, and I'll just circle back to that a bit. Just that's
Please.
something I've thought a lot about. But let me start with the metrics and how to interpret them. So we measure metrics in basically four different buckets. The first bucket is gut health. The next bucket is hydration. Third bucket is bathroom habits. And the fourth bucket is urinary health. So gut health is looking at your poop. That is stool volume, stool color, stool frequency, and then stool consistency on the Bristol stool scale, which is a 7-point scale used since like the late 90s. And basically all GI doctors use this to classify like what does your poop look like. And so it's 7-point scale from hard to healthy to loose to liquid. And that one and stool frequency in particular are two of the most relevant metrics when it comes to identifying gut health. When you ask someone like what good gut health looks like, people will tell you like pretty universally, it's some flavor of like regular healthy poops. Mm-hmm. Regular is a frequency metric and healthy is a Bristol stool scale metric. And when you combine those two things, you can see someone's digestive pattern. And if they're having regular healthy poops, it looks like, trains in Japan. If someone's having a episode of dysbiosis, you start to see wild swings from, okay, well, I was constipated for 3 days, and then I had an episode of diarrhea, and then I got back to regular, and then I went back to diuretic or constipated. So you can see, like in the charts, it's much more scattered than a contiguous line of like healthy bowel movements. The other thing is the frequency and consistency of your bowel movements are highly responsive to stressors in your life and highly responsive to dietary stressors like sensitivities or food intolerances, as well as just like stress, exogenous stressors. It can be sensitive to things like travel or the timing of your meals. And so it's like deceptively high signal. And like one of the things I have learned personally about myself is that when I am stressed, it throws my gut out of axis. But when I'm relaxed, things are much more consistent. I did not realize that until I was able to go back and look at the data and say, oh, wow, for these 3 months I was fundraising, my gut health was all over the map, even though I was eating the same foods. And then I closed the fundraise and just immediately things settled back down. So that's the first bucket. Second bucket, hydration. We're looking at the color and cloudiness of your urine to understand how hydrated you are. That one's, I think, pretty intuitive to people. But we are actually, estimating what's called the urine osmolality, which is the concentration of your urine, and then helping you interpret that on just a scale of 0 to 100. And the fun thing about this one is you show thirst in your urine before you feel thirsty physiologically. So dehydration shows up in your pee before you actually start to feel thirsty. So it's a leading indicator of dehydration. And it's one that you have a lot of control of. Like gut health is one of those things that you have some control over, but like anybody on an extended gut health journey will tell you like not that much control over. Whereas hydration, like if you show dehydration, you can drink more water, and then next time you go to the bathroom, you'll start to see results. So that's a fun one. And then obviously there's all the stats about how even mild dehydration can impair cognitive performance and mood. Can impair sleep. So just even getting proactive nudges every time you go to the bathroom. We all know we're supposed to drink 8 glasses of water or whatever a day, but actually seeing those metrics in real time leads to better behavior. Next bucket, bathroom habits, is also deeply in your control. It is how long you sit on the toilet for. And so there's total time on the toilet, and then there's the time to first evacuation, which is like how long it took you to have your first movement. That number tells you a lot about how constipated someone is, because if you're having healthy bathroom habits, that number is like, less than a minute. Mm-hmm. But if you're pushing hard and still not having any evacuations, there's a difference between 15 minutes and 15 seconds, right? The next number is total evacuation window. And then the final one is what we call your wrap up time. So how long from your last evacuation window your last evacuation, did you sit there and basically linger or doom scroll? And altogether, these are helpful not only for evaluating, a proxy of evacuative effort or strain, but also reducing hemorrhoid risk. So we can, there's a study that just came out late last year showing that smartphone use on the toilet is associated with a 46% increase in hemorrhoid risk. So we can send you a push notification after you've been there for 10 minutes and say, hey, doctors don't recommend you sit on the toilet for more than 10 minutes. Now might be a good time to stretch your legs and come back later. And then the final bucket is urinary health, which is the strength of your flow. And so this one really only works for men when you pee standing up right now, just because we need the stream to enter into the center of the water to measure this, like the literal sound audio of the stream. And that's how we measure the flow rate. And so based on that, we can measure flow rate, peak flow rate, average flow rate, and the urine volume. And the flow rate curve and the shape of that curve are some of the most important metrics for understanding prostate health. And this is something that like very few people in my generation, I'm 32, none of my friends think about their prostates. All of my dad's friends think about their prostate. And so this is serendipitous that this metric really only works for men. It's slightly relevant as a women's health metric. Women's flow rates change a little bit pre and post menopause. But the challenge is we can't measure it for women consistently because the shape of the toilet bowls dictates so much of where the stream ends up hitting. So if the stream goes onto this toilet bowl, it doesn't make the right noises and we can't measure it. It's an aim problem. But those 4 metrics combined can tell you a lot about what's happening inside someone's gut. And then ultimately, long-term, the vision is to be able to look for what's called fecal occult blood as well. So this first version that we're shipping does not do fecal occult blood. Long-term, we want to build what we call the smoke detector for colon cancer. That will not only give you daily insights to improve your health, but also one day save a life.
That's huge. That's huge.
It is a very motivating mission.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we know the statistics of that are quite high in this country, colon cancer. And interestingly, in Ayurveda, everything you're talking about, it's music to my ears, because to circle back to the initial thing that you wanted to circle back to, which is about raising this conversation culturally out of a place of, taboo, or just this is just not something we talk about. It's just not it's not a cool thing to talk about. Like, nobody wants to know what your shit looks like. Nobody like and it's all well and good, but here's the thing. We are a culture that is also incredibly we're advancing very fast. Technology is advancing very fast. And this knowledge around the importance of stool, that's been around with Ayurveda for thousands of years. Ayurveda it's the original longevity science. We've been talking about poop for over 10,000 years. So you are now bridging this ancient knowledge with modern technology in a way that is kind of making it kind of cool, because now you call it a smart toilet, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I want to know about my poop. Like, and I think that a product like this is going to really help people get more comfortable, because it's like a cool tech gadget and people love that kind of thing. But with my practice, it was interesting when I first started practicing as a health counselor, as an Ayurvedic health counselor back in 2020, and then eventually getting into the clinical space, and then as a doctor now, getting people to feel comfortable, because this is one of the things I absolutely need to know in the initial intake, is all the details about your poop, including hemorrhoids, internal and external. And I need to know constipation, gas. I need to know smell. I need to know consistency and urgency. And I need to know all of that, because we are looking at root causes of diseases, which, by the way, Scott, as you know, they all start in the gut. All disease starts in the gut. Many mental health disorders also start in the gut. Without digestive health, there is no health. Everything starts there.
I couldn't agree more. I think the originator of that quote is supposedly Hippocrates, and that's one of the points. Again, just circling back to it, is like, this is not strictly an Ayurvedic conversation, but this has been global cultures, going back through all of time. Stool observation and examination was a huge part of traditional Chinese medicine. Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, wrote extensively about stool examination for identifying imbalances in the body. Ayurveda is probably the oldest and most well-documented tradition of stool examination. But like the fact that it's something that is taboo is like a relatively recent phenomenon, historically speaking.
Yeah.
That really started with the advent of modern plumbing in conjunction with the Victorian era, which kind of brought about this puritanical attitude that had a real chilling effect on talking about our poop. But like, even in other cultures around the world today, people talk about gut health far more openly than we do here in the American West. And it's one of the things I'm like most excited about, is gut health is having a resurgence. Like, if you go look at the Google trends in gut health, it is just like up and to the right. People are talking openly about it in pop culture way more today than they were 10 years ago. And I think COVID had a big part to do with that, just because we started talking about tracking COVID through sewage.
Yes.
But to your point about this being a smart device that can, help bring a conversation to the forefront that people are hesitant to have, I think one of the huge advantages we have is this is something that people are increasingly willing to talk about openly, but also, to your point about meeting people where they are, this device is intrinsically, inherently private in its nature. And my hope is that it can help facilitate conversations with objective data if you need to have those conversations with your clients or your patients. But if someone is still squeamish about talking about this, then at the very least, they can get that data for themselves and have a conversation with, we're building like an AI coach to help people basically run experiments on themselves and understand, okay, when I cut this out of my diet for a week or two, here's the impact it had on my gut health. When I add this supplement into my diet for a week or two, here's the impact it had on my gut health. And I go through and tag, like, all right, I'm trying this new medication. How's that impacting me? And so much of the challenge is people just, especially people with chronic bad gut health, don't even know what normal looks like. And helping people find their normal and then make targeted suggestions at interventions that can help them get to a healthier normal is the name of the game.
That probably answers one of my most pressing questions, which is why you decided to make this direct to consumer versus selling this to hospitals and having doctors use this tech. Because I can assume, I would imagine that, like, if I was to guess what the answer would be, it would be exactly why I am doing what I'm doing, which is I want, as an Ayurvedic doctor, I'm not only a healer, I'm a teacher. Like, that is it's so much about helping people realize that they are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are healing themselves. That's the beauty of this, is that your health is in your hands. You're the healer. Someone just sometimes needs to remind us of this and illuminate that for us. But ultimately, our bodies know what to do.
Yes. Ultimately, we're launching this direct to consumer instead of going through doctors because I don't want this to be held behind gatekeepers. I think we have an opportunity to help way more people, meeting them where they're at. And finally, if we go through doctors, we're really only helping people who have a big enough of a problem that they've gone to see a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so much of the magic of health tracking and the future of preventive health means tracking things when you're doing good so that you can get the red flag or the yellow flag when things start to deviate from your healthy baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And that only works if you start measuring while you're healthy, right? Like, you want to catch things before you go see a doctor, and then either you can right the ship or at least get them to see a doctor before things have progressed to a point where it's, you would have gone in to see them otherwise.
Exactly. I mean, this is, again, Ayurveda really is the supreme science. Everything you're saying, I can't help. Obviously, this is an Ayurveda podcast, but also beyond that, there's just such a coherence between what modern healthcare, what modern science is saying, which is a lot of these diseases are preventable and these are lifestyle based diseases. And by giving this type of power and technology to individuals, they can prevent colon cancer instead of having to treat it at all, having to even have it at all. You can take really good care of your colon when you understand, oh, what are the foods and herbs and lifestyle habits? How, even what you were saying about bathroom habits, about how people are going to the bathroom. I'm a big fan. I would love to hear what you think about the squatty potty. I've been using a squatty potty for years. I didn't know it existed, and then when I remember, like, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I've never gone back. I think it's like one of those easy things that just I love. And I know it's totally a tangent. What is it? A tangential idea. But honestly, I think that is also helping when you see that in, like, your friend's bathroom and you're like, what is that? And you have to say squatty potty or like whatever other, that's a patented product, obviously, but there's a lot of other different brands out there. But then that
Totally.
opens up, like, oh, there's healthier ways to do this. There's like an optimal way to poop. Like, can you tell me about that, please? I didn't even know. So education is I think really what I wanted to come back to in that intention of making this a product that you're helping people learn about the process of understanding digestion and gut health, and honestly, like, drawing awareness to the body is such a beautiful thing. I mean, any chance we can do that throughout our day, but especially this one where I mean, I can go down a list, Scott. I can tell you all the things that I talk about with my patients about poop and the best practices, which I'm sure you've done all the due diligence and all the research, because this is a huge part of Throne is that education piece. But there are things that people would never, ever even think. Like, most people are going into the bathroom with their phone, right? Or a magazine.
Hmm.
I guess that was like the old school version of a phone, but just hanging out in there on the toilet for so long, just thinking, oh, I'm just going to go relax. And they don't understand what that's actually doing and the pressure that it's putting on the body, and creating, like you said, hemorrhoids that over time can be really destructive to that tissue and degrade the integrity of the tissue, and then ultimately lead to much more advanced diseases like colon cancer. That would be like the most acute version of what can happen when people are neglectful of their gut health. But yeah, I think that the education piece is going to be like life changing for so many people in our country. And I think you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you so much. It means a lot. I think just to your point about preventing, particularly colorectal cancer, I just want to tap into that one for a second because that is the piece of this mission that just gets me the most fired up, like by far. So just to take a step back and just paint the picture. Last year in the United States, 40,000 people died in car accidents. In that same time period, 153,000 people were diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and about 50,000 of them died from it. So that means basically 25% more people died from colon cancer last year than all car accidents combined. That means we have the opportunity to save more American lives every year than every self-driving car company in existence. That's like combined. That is bananas to me. On top of that, colorectal cancer is this like crazy shape of a disease where it's not deadly at all if you catch it early. So it typically takes 7 to 10 years on average for a polyp to become a malignant tumor. And if you catch it while it's still just a precancerous polyp, you literally go dig it. They do a colonoscopy and they like snip it out, and you're good. You have literally stopped cancer, nipped it in the bud. However, even once it becomes stage 1 cancer, you still have a 5-year survival rate of 91%. And then when it becomes stages 2 and stages 3, your 5-year survival rate is like 72%. So colorectal cancer really only gets super, super deadly once it gets to stage 4, at which point it's like 16% 5-year survival rate. So the fact that 1 in 3 people diagnosed with colon cancer die from it is almost explicitly just because we catch it too late. Mm-hmm. And the thing I'm like most motivated by is this fecal occult blood detection that we're working on for generation 2 of the product that will scan the toilet bowl every time you go to the bathroom and look for blood. And the important thing is we'll be able to look for patterns of blood over time. Because right now, to look for blood in stool, you have to take a stool sample and send it off to a lab, look for this microscopic blood that's invisible to the naked eye. And the challenge of that is, like, people don't like doing that much. And it's not something you're going to do every single time you go to the bathroom. And because it's just, even at like just $20 a sample, that adds up, right? Like, you're not going to spend, would that be like $140 a week? Like, that's not practical. But if we could do that without having to touch it, without having to think about it, and just get you those results and then see the patterns over time, then we'd be able to see, okay, over the course of a few months, either this bleeding came and went, and like that might just be a hemorrhoid, and that's far less concerning, or like that could have been a viral infection like food poisoning, right? Like there's a lot of things that can cause blood in your stool, but if we start to see steady creep up in the amount of bleeding, and that's enough for us to say, hey, this is concerning, you should go see a doctor about this. And almost certainly they'll order a colonoscopy, and if they find a polyp, they can remove it and literally stop cancer in its tracks, like before it's even become cancer. Like you literally, to your point, prevent cancer. And the crazy thing about it, like you can prevent other cancers, or reduce your risk of cancer with diet and lifestyle. And the wild thing about colon cancer is you can prevent colon cancer, and then because you took a polyp out, you can literally say like, no, that like in this person we prevented it. It's not abstract. This is real. Like. We did a colonoscopy, we found a polyp, we took it out. Now you're not going to have colon cancer for few years at least. And like, let's come back in 5 years. But like, that is amazing to me that there's like a direct path for people to be able to say, my toilet saved my life.
I love that so much. And I can't help myself but think about this is a behavioral. So Ayurveda is a behavioral science, and gut health, when it comes to gut health and healthy poop, yes, there's a mental health component. If people are experiencing stress, like you said, when you were fundraising for your company, you were eating the same things, and yet for some reason you were noticing a different pattern of elimination. Your bowels just look different. You were digesting life differently under stress, under that type of stress, versus with the absence of that stress. Now, if we look at another layer of this, in Ayurveda, we understand the colon as being the storehouse, or not even just the storehouse, but the original home of what's called Vata dosha, which is the air and ether elements, which are dry in nature. Air, when you're outside and it's windy, your skin dries up and then you're more susceptible to getting sick, right? Your immune system doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
that same moistening, that lubrication, that protective mucosal membrane that's getting dried out by the wind. Ether, very cold. Anytime you're exposed to cold, what happens? You get dry. So it's that same thing. Your body is really trying to maintain homeostasis on a daily. It's constantly trying to survive. And your body knows when you're in your sympathetic versus your parasympathetic nervous system. And just having the awareness of, oh, if there's dryness in my environment, or if there are dry emotions like anxiety, fear, overwhelm, that is going to irritate the colon. So what do? Prevent disease by, yes, not staying on the toilet, but also having things in the diet. Like, I'm wondering if this can at some point even give people, users of the technology, like, oh, we noticed your stool looks a little bit dry today. How about having some demulcent tea, like licorice root tea? Some
Mm.
easy just recommendations for people to be like, oh, okay, we noticed mucus in your stool. Okay, maybe you're having excess, dairy in your diet. How about, you take the amount, you go to either an Ayurvedic doctor or any kind of functional medical doctor, and they will tell you based on the data in the Throne technology, or the app even, you can show this data and they can give you real-time suggestions about what to eat that day, right? Because that's
Yeah.
the second
Yeah.
piece, is like, yeah, there's so many things you can do to protect your colon from ever even getting a polyp, right? And it's multi-layered. It's stress management, but it's also the awareness of, what are we eating? How are we eating it? Are we chewing it? I mean, some people literally just swallow their food. They don't even chew it, you
Yeah.
know? And there's an ancient proverb in Ayurveda, which is, if diet is correct, medicine is of no need. But if diet is incorrect, medicine is of no use. So it can be this continual game of, what is it, whack-a-mole, where we're just constantly, chasing symptoms and like, oh, let's just keep getting the colonoscopies and scraping out the polyps. Or again, there's this entire reclamation happening right now in the healthcare field, across the entire field, which is, we want to take the power back of our bodies. We want to know how to use this thing, how this thing works. And what an incredible modern solution that you've come up with to do just that, is to like be like, wow, okay. Again, if there's like, even like the small pellets, like if people are having, again, dryness in the stool, it'll come out like small little pellets, instead of having like a
Yep.
full bowel movement. People can feel that all day long, if they haven't had a full evacuation that day, how that impacts your energy, how that impacts your mood, how that impacts your sleep, your productivity, how nice you are to your spouse, how nice you are to the people you're working with on a daily. Like, you can tell when people are not having good poops by the way that, seriously, like, I can tell. It's very, I'm like, okay, there's that saying, oh, I think they have a stick up their butt. No, they probably are just literally full of shit.
I love that.
Right.
That's a dangerous one for me to think about just because I will vocalize that next time someone's being grumpy.
But in the most loving way, like in the most compassionate way, because we've all been there where, oh, we really need to go to the bathroom, and maybe it's been a whole day or maybe 2 days, and we're just like so backed up, and it's just miserable, and you don't know how to solve that. So you take a laxative or you drink a cup of coffee. But again, what does coffee do? It's a purgative. It's not actually helping you train that muscle to initiate peristalsis. It's forcing the colon to contract into peristalsis. So over time, what does that do? That atrophies the muscle, weakens the colon, and then it is more susceptible to colon cancer. So again, there's so many. You're opening up the door by making this a cool tech piece. You are bringing it into a different arena, out of the, again, like the shadows of a GI doctor's office or an Ayurveda doctor's office, and kind of making it cool to talk about poop. So I'm grateful.
That is, thank you. I think one of the things you said that I resonated the most with was giving people the opportunity to take the power back. And I think that is something that I find particularly exciting about this is the timing is perfect for this, not only because people are shifting back to talking openly about gut health, but because this is, I would consider like a third generation wearable. And we're now at a place where 1 in 6 Americans checks a wearable device every single day. And that is a huge, barometer of how technology has democratized access to our health. Because it used to be like, to check heart rate, you had to count it out with a stopwatch. Now it's something you get passively in your sleep, which is the most useful one to look at. You get your heart rate variability as well. And there's a tremendous amount of consumer education to help you understand what those things mean. And I'm going to take a step back and just say it as plainly as this. I sincerely believe that in 2026, AI is people's first opinion when it comes to healthcare. And having all of these metrics available to them at their fingertips affordably supercharges the types of questions they're able to ask because they just have more data to make more informed questions, which leads to more informed decisions. And by the time they end up to a healthcare practitioner, that person is now a second opinion in effect. Mm-hmm. And, cross-checking all of the homework that they've done. I think in the world of chronic illness, one of my favorite phrases I've come across is you have to become your own best patient advocate and you have to become an expert in your disease. And that is true whether or not it's an acute episode or a chronic condition that you're managing. You have to be the most curious. Mm-hmm. No one will care as much as you. And having that data available to you to make informed questions about is everything. In our world, like we've seen people, like one of my favorite experiences of someone using the Throne product is we had one of our beta prototype users shoot me a text the other day. He was like, I didn't realize that I had nocturia, which is a lower urinary tract symptom of waking up in the middle of the night to go pee. And he was like, I didn't realize that this was a problem I had until I actually looked at my Throne data and I saw that I'm regularly waking up at night to go pee. So I uploaded those screenshots to ChatGPT and then asked it to help me prepare a supplement regime to reduce my midnight waking ups, and started taking these supplements and adjusted my evening routine in the ways that it suggested. And here I am like a week later and I haven't woken up once. And that is an amazing example of exactly what we're talking about, which is people getting more awareness of their bodies than they otherwise would have because you're able to look back and see those patterns that are sub-perceptual. And then now that I have that awareness and I have that ground truth objective data on myself, I can take it to an AI and ask real questions. And like, otherwise, what was he going to do? Like, go make an appointment with a urologist? Like, that is so impractical, but it's so convenient to just take these screenshots and ask someone. And again, it's not impractical because he doesn't want that information. It's impractical just because there's a shortage of healthcare practitioners in this country. And to get to someone who's specialized is like 2 steps. You're looking at like a month at minimum before you can get that.
I was going to say 3 months maybe with those specialists. They're very Yes, they're very understaffed. That is a very real problem.
So to give people the insight, not even the insights, just to give people the data that they need to form their own insights and their own opinions and then run experiments on themselves and fix their own problems is like amazing to me. That's happening with our beta device.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's so interesting, this age of AI that we're in, because, yeah, to your point, yes, AI is getting smarter by the day. It's not always right. There are a lot of nuances. And Ayurveda, you know, there are no generalizations. So, because everyone is so unique and they have what's called a prakriti, or an original true nature, like a unique, it's like your thumbprint. Like you have, Scott, you have your own way of, your metabolism, your requirements for sleep, like the amount of hours you need, the window that you sleep best, your hours of productivity, even that you can focus the best, are going to be different perhaps from mine, right? Like, for
Mm-hmm.
us to try to have like this one size fits all approach to healthcare is inherently incorrect. It's just, we've already come across a problem in the healthcare field. We all have a unique body, and not only do we have unique bodies, but we have genetics, we have karmic, more subtle karmic imprints, we have traumas, we have ways of seeing the world, we just have, different perspectives, different experiences, and personalities and temperaments, and styles of learning, styles of understanding. So I think that, I'm hopeful, and I'm a big fan of AI, and at the same time I still see the need of having qualified, competent, skilled doctors, practitioners, coaches, counselors, guides, because we are human, and we do well when we connect with other humans. We do really well when we connect with one another. And AI is an assist. It's definitely an
Yes.
incredible, accessible daily assist. It doesn't replace humans, but it's a great tool, and I'm here for it.
The analogy I like to use is like customer support. Like all first line customer support is all going through AI now because otherwise you're stuck waiting on hold for 30 minutes, which is like a worse user experience than if an AI chatbot can sort you out in 30 seconds of going back and forth. Same thing here. If we can provide the information that you can sort out a small problem that is, still in the wellness category with an AI, great. But if it needs to be escalated, like we will tell you that. And that's something that, fortunately the FDA has just given companies the explicit permission to do, is say you should go talk to a health professional,
Hmm. Hmm.
which it used to be you weren't even allowed to say that. So yes, spiritually, philosophically, completely aligned. Like this is not intended to be a replacement. This is intended to increase access to healthcare information that otherwise is just inaccessible right now.
Amazing. Should we talk about the practicalities of how to set up the device? And so, say people want to order it, which it's going to be available in a month, you said, right?
Yeah, so it will start shipping in February. If you want to order it, check us out at thronescience.com. And then this is the device itself. So the camera that clips onto the side of your toilet. So, these little wings clamp it in place and sits right under your toilet seat. Here we have a motion sensor, so it's totally hands-free. Walk up to the toilet. The proximity sensor here detects that someone is at the toilet, and then it uses your phone's Bluetooth to identify, this is Scott versus this is Sasha. So this is the one, we're trying to turn a negative into a positive by using your phone as the way to identify who the user is. If you don't bring your phone with you to the bathroom because you have really good habits, then you also have the opportunity to use these buttons. So you have like player one, player two, and you can just push your button and that'll turn it on as well. I find this to be very useful when I go to the bathroom at night without my phone. But then it turns on towards what's happening inside the toilet bowl with these little illuminator LEDs. When you walk away, it'll turn itself off. And then we use dozens of different AI models in the background to extract health information from your stool and your urine in those four categories that we talked about. All that gets sent to an app. I'll show you here really quickly what the app looks like. So basically, you have a dashboard that shows a gut health score and a hydration score, and then all these little insights that you can swipe through. Those refresh after every session. You can see your list of all the sessions throughout the day. And then the most fun stuff is all the trend data. So you can see your historical hydration trends and your urinary health trends and your gut health trends. So right now we're actually looking at my digestive health over the past week and now month. You can see, 3 weeks ago I was in a great place, highly regular. The last week has been more stressful, and it shows up in my gut health. Before that, it was a little bit more all over the map. The holidays were not kind to me. I'll tell you that the first things that fall off when you're on vacation with your family are diet and exercise.
That's why you need like the travel hacks, like the Ayurvedic travel hacks. Like,
Yeah.
what are the absolute non-negotiables when you're traveling and when you're not always in control about what kind of foods? Okay, well, at least I'm going to make sure I have my lemon water in the morning to start the day. Okay, at least I'm going to make sure that you have like you can literally travel with herbs. I always travel with Tulsi, for example, or you can travel with Triphala. Triphala, by the way, is a wonderful Ayurvedic formula for the colon. It tonifies the colon, and it's a very gentle laxative, but it's a non-habit forming, very ancient, famous Ayurvedic combination of Harataki, Bibitaki, and Amalaki. So anyway, that's a tangent. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, sometimes it is just as simple as knowing, okay, I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to take my Triphala with me, and I'm going to have it one in the morning, one in the evening, like in capsule form. So it's easy, right? And again, if people are like, oh, I'm too busy, I'm going to forget. Well, again, pack it in a way where you can carry it with you throughout your day. There are always solutions. We can get creative with these things. If we prioritize gut health and digestive health, then we can get so creative with the solutions around how to protect it. Because ultimately, that is what we're doing with functional medicine. We're protecting our health. We're not taking it for granted. And I think that's
100% agree.
it's so easy to do for young people. It's so easy to just be like, I'm fine, and then you might be fine in your 20s, even most of your 30s. And then by the time you're in your 40s, you're like, I don't know what happened, but everything fell apart overnight. But that's not really true. It was an accumulation of lifestyle choices, your whole life that accumulated. So this is an incredible opportunity, what you've created. And yeah, I think just I'm really excited because I think it's so relevant. It's so meeting the need of the hour. This is exactly the type of interface that people are responding really well to, which is the wearables. Like, I have an Aura ring. I track my sleep every single night. I love seeing the data. It helps me keep myself accountable, and numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you see the metrics in the app and you're like, well, there's nothing to really debate there. That's just
Yeah.
data. So, giving people at least the knowledge and then being like, okay, well, if you want to, now it's up to you, but you can no longer blame ignorance.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's just awareness. It's so easy to be ignorant because especially when it comes to the toilet, because out of sight, out of mind.
Yep. Yeah, you made such a good point about the plumbing, by the way. I wanted to just say, yeah, because a lot of people don't even see it because it's already like by the time it comes out, it's like hidden. So, yeah, it's such a great point of the mechanics of how people got so disconnected from this. But you've solved for that. You've done a great job. And I'm so excited. So, you said people can order this on your website,
DroneScience.com.
but February 20th, you said? February?
Yeah, that's when we'll be shipping our first unit. So
Wow.
we're collecting pre-orders now. The goal is to fulfill all the pre-orders by the end of March. But yeah, I mean, this thing has been in R&D for almost 3 years. My co-founder is one of the co-founders of Whoop. So we have, personal health tracking, deep expertise as part of the DNA of the team. And this could not be more excited to share what we've been, cooking up in our little laboratory over here.
And I'm so proud of you. I know it's been such a grind and you've been pouring your heart and soul into this. And yeah, I guess just as a friend, but also as someone who's passionate about a very similar mission or probably pretty much the same mission, uh, well done. I'm what a moment to be so close to this. I mean, as you know, as an entrepreneur, you get to one finish line and then there's like a whole nother race to the next phase, which is you're already thinking about, oh, we want to test for blood and that's going to be Gen 2. But I think just being present with where you are right now, Scott, I want to say, look at how far you've come. I mean, this is coming out and it's going to help so many people. And I hope you take time in each and every single day, even when it's crazy, because I know it can be, trust me. I mean, I'm in my new apartment. I don't even have a bed in it yet. Like I haven't had time to order a bed. Like I'm sleeping on my own couch after moving into my own home. And it's because, we put the mission before ourselves sometimes. We're like, no, I want to take care of this baby, this business, this, the launching of the birth of this gift that I'm giving the world. And it's so easy to just, for all of us, entrepreneurs especially in the healthcare field, we're just like running on empty, man. And it's like, I think to just hear it from one fellow person, I don't know what to call myself, but like, I'm with you in it. And I think it's important to hear you are doing an amazing job. And I also hope that you're being gentle with yourself whenever possible, even if it's just a moment in between tasks where you're saying to yourself, dude, I'm proud of you. You're doing an awesome. Like, I'm with you. We're breathing. We're going to slow down the breath. Everything's working. Everything's going to work out, because it's easy to lose sight of that when you're in the trenches, But yeah, this is so cool. And I can't wait to see it on my own toilet. I'm going to get one, obviously. And I actually told my friend Neil about it this morning, and he got so excited. He's like, what? I'm ordering that. There's like no questions asked. He's like, no, that's a really smart idea. So this is going to be a big disruptor in the healthcare space in a good way, and a revolutionary piece of technology that I'm surprised doesn't even exist yet. So way to go to be that person. Someone had to be that person.
So much. That's kind of why we're here. We looked around and saw that this has real opportunity to improve health and one day save millions of lives, and no one else seemed to be doing it. And so by default, I must be the one to do it.
Looks good on you, though. You're doing great. That smile, I can see it. Looks good on you.
Sasha, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Before you go, if you're ready to dive deeper into your healing, check the show notes to book a 45-minute exploratory call with me. If you mention you're a subscriber of the podcast, you'll get 50% off your initial intake consultation. A 2-hour deep dive, normally $400, now just $200. You'll also find exclusive 20% discounts on trusted Ayurvedic herbs from Kerala Ayurveda and Gary & Son. Just click the links to apply the savings automatically. Ojas Oasis is a labor of love, a podcast born from a deep desire to share the timeless wisdom of Ayurveda, Vedic ritual, and holistic healing with seekers around the world. Every episode is carefully crafted to bring you inspiring conversations, ancient insights, and practical tools for living a radiant, balanced life. If the show has nourished your spirit, helped you feel more seen, or guided you on your healing path, you can now support our work by buying us a coffee or golden milk. Your support goes directly toward producing high-quality episodes, keeping the podcast ad-light and mission-focused, expanding our offerings to serve you even more deeply, and whether it's a one-time cup or a monthly offering, we are so grateful. Click the link in the show notes to support the podcast and keep the wisdom flowing.